Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a stack of documents on the table today that, honestly, if you just glanced at the cover, looks like the syllabus for a very dry, very intense IT certification.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at CompTIA A plus Module 18. Specifically, we're digging into the sections on SHO, that's Small Office Home Office Network Security.
Right.
But here's the thing. I started reading this expecting to be bored, and instead I got kind of terrified.
Yeah, it does look dry on paper. I mean, it's a lot of acronyms, protocols, and standards. But you're right, once you actually peel back the layers, this isn't just about passing an exam.
Right.
This is essentially a survival guide for the digital age we're all living in right now.
That is exactly the vibe I got. I think we have this Hollywood hangover when it comes to hacking.
Oh, yeah.
You imagine a guy in a hoodie, dark room, green code cascading down a screen, furiously typing.
The cinematic version. It makes for good TV, but it's rarely how the real world works. The reality is often much quieter and strangely much more physical than people expect.
Right. Because looking at these sources, the threats range from digging through your physical garbage cans, literally,
Yep.
to fake stickers on parking meters.
Mm-hmm.
It's a messy landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So the mission for this deep dive is to map out what CompTIA calls attacks, threats, and vulnerabilities, all the bad stuff. And then we're going to pivot to the shield. We need to understand how things like zero-day exploits and social engineering work so we can get why we need tools like WPA3 encryption.
Exactly. You can't appreciate the shield if you don't understand the sword.
So let's start with the bad news, the vulnerability landscape. The sources make a pretty sharp distinction between a threat and a vulnerability.
Yeah.
But the term that jumped out at me, mostly because it sounds like the title of a thriller movie, is the zero-day vulnerability.
It is dramatic, but the definition is actually completely literal.
So what makes it zero-day? Is that like a countdown clock?
In a way, a zero-day vulnerability is a flaw in software that is, unknown to the vendor, the people who made it, and unknown to the public when an attacker finds it. The zero refers to the number of days the developers have had to fix it.
So essentially, the bad guys found an unlocked door before the architect even knew they built it.
That's a perfect way to put it. There are 0 days of defense, no patch, no update, no fix, and that is why they are so dangerous.
Okay.
The sources highlight that these are the highest value targets on the black market. If you discover a 0 day in, say, Windows or iOS, that information is worth a fortune to espionage groups or ransomware gangs.
Because you can't defend against it. Your antivirus is usually looking for known signatures, right?
Yeah.
If this has no signature, it's just invisible.
Precisely. It's the ultimate stealth weapon. And, the source material actually brings up probably the most famous example of this in history.
Stuxnet.
Stuxnet.
This story always blows my mind. This was around 2010.
2010, yeah. Stuxnet was a worm designed to target Iranian nuclear centrifuges. But what made it so unprecedented and, frankly, terrifying to security researchers was that it didn't just use one 0 day.
It used more than one.
It chained together multiple Windows 0-day flaws at the same time to spread across networks and jump air-gapped systems.
Air-gapped meaning systems not even connected to the internet.
Right. It used USB drives to jump that gap. And the result wasn't just data theft. It physically destroyed the centrifuges. It made them spin out of control while telling the monitoring software everything was just fine.
Wow.
It showed that code could have real, kinetic, physical consequences.
That is the intersection of code and warfare. But okay, most of the people listening to this aren't running uranium enrichment facilities in their basement.
Hopefully not.
So what's the SOHO version of a vulnerability that actually threatens us regular people?
The zombie tech, or more formally, end-of-life systems.
Zombie tech. I'm guessing this refers to hardware or software that just refuses to die.
It refers to systems where the vendor has officially washed their hands of it. End of life, EOL, or end of support, EOS. The sources specifically call out things like Windows 7, Windows XP, or Server 2008.
I know people who still swear by Windows 7. They love the interface. They just refuse to upgrade. If the machine still turns on, where's the harm?
The harm is that the digital locks on your doors have stopped working and the locksmith has retired. If a new vulnerability is discovered in Windows 7 today, and they are, all the time, Microsoft is not sending a patch.
So that door just stays open. Forever.
Forever. You're a beacon. Attackers know this. They use automated scanners to sweep the internet looking for the specific fingerprint of these EOL systems. It's low-hanging fruit.
And it's not just the software.
No, and the sources point this out. EOL hardware, like that old router you bought in 2015 that's just sitting in the corner, is a massive risk. If the firmware isn't getting updates, you can end up with persistent rootkits.
Persistent rootkits, that just sounds nasty.
It is. It's malware that buries itself so deep in the hardware, literally in the firmware chip, that even if you wipe the hard drive and reinstall the OS, the virus just comes back the next time you reboot. It survives the wipe.
Okay, note to self. Recycle the old gear, don't hoard it. But let's shift gears. We've talked about hacking the machine, but the sources spend a lot of time on social engineering. This is hacking the human.
Which is often much, much easier. You can spend weeks trying to crack a 256-bit encryption key, or you can just call the receptionist and ask for the password.
It's all psychological manipulation.
Exactly. It exploits our desire to be helpful, our fear of authority, or just our curiosity.
The sources list a whole taxonomy here. We all know phishing, the fake emails. But the variations are getting remarkably specific. You have spear phishing and whaling.
It helps to think of standard phishing as just trawling with a net. You send a million generic reset your password emails hoping one person bites.
Okay.
Spear phishing is when they do their homework. They target you.
So they know my name, my job title. Maybe I just posted on LinkedIn about a conference.
Exactly. They craft an email that looks like it's from your boss or a vendor you actually use referencing real details. It bypasses your internal skepticism because it feels personal.
And whaling. Is that the same idea?
That's spear phishing, but hunting the big fish. CEOs, CFOs. The goal isn't just a password, it's often to trick them into authorizing a massive wire transfer or revealing trade secrets.
High risk, high reward.
For the attacker, yes.
The sources also list vishing and smishing. I feel like the security industry just loves adding ishing to everything.
It's branding, I guess, but it categorizes the vector. Vishing is voice phishing.
Is that still a thing? I feel like nobody answers their phone anymore.
It's actually making a comeback because of AI. We're seeing attacks where AI is used to clone a voice. You get a call from your boss or your panicked grandchild, and it sounds exactly like them.
Oh, that's chilling.
It's a terrifying multiplier for social engineering because we trust our ears.
And smishing is just SMS, text messages.
Yeah.
Your package delivery failed, click here.
Right. We see those daily. But the one that really stood out to me in the notes, partly because it exploits a technology we've all been trained to trust blindly, is quitching.
Yes, quishing. QR code phishing.
Think about how you use a QR code. You go to a restaurant, you scan for the menu, you go to a parking meter, you scan to pay. You trust the physical context.
Right. I see the sticker on the meter. I assume the city put it there.
And that is the vulnerability. Attackers simply print their own stickers with a malicious QR code and just paste them right over the real one.
That's so low tech, but so high impact.
Extremely. Because humans can't read QR codes. If I send you a link that says paypal-secure-login.com.fake.site, you might spot the suspicious part. But with a QR code, you just scan and go.
You're flying blind.
You're blind until the page loads, and by then, the malware might already be downloading.
So the lesson is, treat a QR code like any other suspicious link.
Okay.
Now, there's another impersonator attack here that I think applies to anyone who works from coffee shops. The evil twin.
This is a classic. You're at the airport, you see a Wi-Fi network named Airport Free Wi-Fi, you connect. It works.
But it's not the airport's router.
It's not the airport's router. It's the guy sitting 3 gates down with a laptop. He's broadcasting a signal with the same name. Your phone connects to him.
And you'd never know.
You wouldn't, because he then bridges that connection to the real internet, so you don't notice anything is wrong. But he is now the man in the middle. He can strip your encryption, capture your login cookies, see everything.
It's amazing how much of this relies on us just operating on autopilot. And speaking of which, the sources go into physical attacks. And this is where it gets gritty. Dumpster diving.
It is exactly what it says on the tin.
Are people really still diving into dumpsters in 2024 with all the high-tech tools available?
Absolutely, because it works. Think about what a typical small office throws away. Sticky notes with passwords, printed invoices with account numbers, old hard drives that haven't been properly wiped.
I guess we assume once it's in the trash, it's just gone into the void.
But legally, in a lot of places, once trash is on the curb, it's public domain. If an attacker wants to breach a company, the trash is often the very first place they look. It's completely unprotected.
So the defense there isn't a firewall, it's a shredder.
A cross-cut shredder. And a clean desk policy. If it has data on it, you destroy it. You don't just bin it.
Before we get to the defensive tools, we have to touch on the technical toolkit in the source material. These are the attacks on the website of things. 2 big acronyms here: SQL injection and XSS.
These are attacks against the actual applications we use. Let's start with SQL injection. SQL is the language that databases speak.
Okay.
If a website has a login field, it takes what you type and asks the database a question like, does this user exist?
Right.
In a SQL injection attack, the hacker doesn't type a name. They type a command. The classic example in the source is OR111 or
OR11. That sounds like basic math. How is that a weapon?
because to a database, it's a logic statement. In logic, 1 always equals 1. It is an always true condition.
Ah, I see where this is going.
You're telling the database, let me in if the password is correct, or if 1 equals 1. And since 1 always equals 1,
The database says true and opens the door.
it bypasses authentication entirely. It's like walking up to a bouncer and saying, let me in if my name is on the list, or if the sky is blue. The bouncer looks up, sees the sky is blue, and opens the rope.
That's a great analogy. It's like a Jedi mind trick for the database.
Yeah.
What about XSS, cross-site scripting?
This one's different. SQL injection attacks the database. XSS attacks the users. The attacker finds a way to inject malicious code, usually JavaScript, into a legitimate, trusted website.
So the website itself is technically fine, but it's serving up poison.
Exactly. Imagine a comment section on a blog. If the site isn't careful, an attacker can post a comment that isn't text but a script. When you, a normal user, load that page to read the comments,
My browser just runs the script.
your browser executes that script. And it can do things like steal your session cookies. That means the attacker can take over your logged-in session on that site without ever knowing your password. They just ride your coattails.
Which brings us to the final threat category, password attacks. The sources list a few methods: brute force, dictionary attacks, and rainbow tables.
This is all a game of probability. Brute force is the dumbest method. It's just trying every single combination of characters, A, B, C, A, 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 B, A, C.
Better take forever.
It's 100% effective eventually, but eventually might be a million years if the password is long. So attackers get smarter. They use a dictionary attack. A list of common words. Password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Monkey, dragon.
Dragon is on the list.
Dragon is always on the list. People love cool-sounding words. But the most advanced method mentioned is rainbow tables. This involves hash cracking.
We should explain hashing. When a site stores my password, they don't store the word dragon, do they?
Correct. They store a mathematical fingerprint of the word called a hash. A rainbow table is a pre-computed list of trillions of potential passwords and their corresponding hashes.
It's a reverse lookup.
Exactly. Instead of guessing, the attacker just looks up the hash they stole to see what password matches it.
So what's the mitigation? The sources seem really specific about length versus complexity.
This is a key shift in thinking. The sources emphasize long passphrases, 12 to 16 characters or more. Length beats complexity mathematically. A sentence like, my blue house has red windows, is much harder to brute force than P at SS1 because of the sheer number of bits.
And of course, account lockout policies.
Yes. If you get the password wrong 5 times, the account locks. That stops brute force and dictionary attacks dead in their tracks.
Okay, we've covered the horrors. We've been fished, quished, and brute forced. Let's talk about the shield. The sources dive deep into wireless security protocols. This is that alphabet soup we see when we set up our routers. WEP, WPA, WPA2, WPA3.
The first rule from the source is simple. Trash the old stuff. WEP and WPATKIP are dead. They are deprecated, they're insecure. WEP can be cracked in minutes with software you can download for free.
So if your router's set to WP, you might as well have an open network.
Effectively, yes.
So we're looking at WPA2 and WPA3. And the core of this is encryption. The source mentions AES.
AES, the Advanced Encryption Standard. This is the gold standard block cipher. It's used by the U.S. government, pretty much everyone. It's symmetric, meaning it uses the same key to encrypt and decrypt, which makes it fast and incredibly tough to break.
WPA2 uses AES. But it's been around a long time. It has a crack in the armor, doesn't it?
It does. WPA2 uses a 4-way handshake to connect your device to the router. The problem is that during this handshake, there's a vulnerability that allows for offline dictionary attacks.
Offline is the key word there.
A vital distinction. An attacker can capture that handshake data from the air, go home, and then use a massive server farm to guess your password at their own pace. They don't need to be near your house anymore.
And your router has no idea it's even happening.
None. And that is why WPA3 is such a huge upgrade. It completely replaces that 4-way handshake with something called SAE, Simultaneous Authentication of Equals.
SAE. And the sources mention this is based on the Dragonfly key exchange.
It's a very cool piece of cryptography. What Dragonfly does, to put it simply, is prevent that offline guessing game. It requires interaction for every single guess.
So if the attacker wants to guess password 123, they have to actually ask the router.
Yes. And if they want to guess password 124, they have to ask the router again. They can't just capture the data and run. This makes brute forcing incredibly noisy and slow.
There's another feature of WPA3 that I found really interesting, forward secrecy. Can we explain that? It sounds like something from a spy novel.
It's a big deal for privacy. In older protocols, if an attacker recorded your encrypted traffic today, even if they couldn't read it, they might just save it on a hard drive.
Okay.
Then, if they managed to steal your Wi-Fi password a year from now, they could use that password to go back and decrypt all that old data.
Oh, wow. So your past conversations are compromised retroactively. It's like they recorded a conversation in a language they didn't know, and then a year later bought a dictionary.
Exactly. Forward secrecy prevents that. It ensures that unique session keys are generated for every connection. So even if the main password is compromised in the future, it cannot be used to decrypt past sessions. It isolates the timeline.
That is remarkably reassuring. Now, briefly, the sources also touch on enterprise security. Because if you're a big company, you aren't all sharing one Wi-Fi password. Right?
Oh, that would be a nightmare. Imagine firing an employee and having to change the Wi-Fi password for 5,000 devices.
Sorry, everyone. Dave got fired. Here's a new password.
It just doesn't work. Enterprise networks use a standard called 802.1x. This usually involves a radius server.
Radius sounds like a Bond villain organization.
It stands for Remote Authentication Dial-in User Service. Basically, when you log into enterprise Wi-Fi, you use your own unique username and password. The access point sends those credentials to the radius server to say, is this person legit?
So it centralizes the management.
Yeah.
You disable Dave's account in one place, and he can't get on the Wi-Fi anymore, but everyone else is fine.
Exactly. The sources also mention EAPTLS as the most secure version of this, which uses digital certificates instead of just passwords. It's like needing a specific verified ID card to enter the building, not just knowing a secret code word.
We have covered a massive amount of ground here, from Stuxnet blowing up centrifuges to the guy in the parking lot pasting fake QR codes, all the way to the math behind the Dragonfly key exchange.
It's a broad landscape, but the patterns are there.
If we had to boil this down for the listener,
Yeah.
someone who just wants to make sure their SO fortress is actually fortified, what is the headline?
I would say the headline is that while the tools change, the principles remain the same. We moved from WPA2 to WPA3. We moved from simple viruses to AI vishing. But the defense is consistent.
Right.
Verify your inputs, don't trust that email or that QR code blindly, update your systems, kill the zombie tech before it kills you, and understand your connection. Use the strongest protocol your router supports.
It's about building layers of defense. You can't stop every 0 day, but you can make yourself a very hard target.
Exactly. Don't be the low-hanging fruit. Attackers are opportunistic. If your door is locked and the neighbor's isn't, they move on.
I want to leave everyone with a thought based on that concept of forward secrecy we discussed. It really stuck with me.
It's a powerful concept.
We know WPA3 uses forward secrecy to protect your past data, even if your password gets stolen today. It cuts the link between your past and your present vulnerability. So here's the question for you. If your current digital habits, everything you're clicking, saving, and ignoring right now, were leaked 10 years from now, would they compromise who you are today? Or have you built enough forward secrecy into your own life through data hygiene and privacy tools to keep your past safe?
That is a question worth answering.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.